Tuza, Thomas Kennefic, Jeffrey Morneau, Ryan Alekman, and Chelsea Choi would like to thank you all for your attention and would like to thank everyone who has come out today to show their support and solidarity for the court system. Yesterday, we filed this very important litigation to force the Chief Justice of the Administration and Management of the Trial Court System to take real and decisive action in providing the members of Hampden County with a safe and healthy building to administer justice. First, I would like to acknowledge the Registrar of Deeds, Cheryl Coakley-Rivera, and former Executive Director of the Hampden County Bar Association, Judith Potter, for having the courage and leadership and agreeing to stand up for their colleagues, co-workers, and friends who are forced to enter this sick courthouse on a daily basis. As we all know, there is a long-standing history of environmental concerns at the Roderick Ireland Courthouse. People in this community have been complaining to those in charge out in Boston for decades about the conditions. This is not something that just happened overnight or over the past years. Starting back in about 2009, 2011 area, members of the union started to file health and safety grievances documenting the conditions in this courthouse. It's only gotten worse since then. Now we're facing mold issues, we're facing issues with the HVAC system, we need new AHU and FCU coils, there's leaking ceilings, there's flooding in the courthouse. Today there's flooding in the district court file room. These are long-standing issues that need to be remedied. People have also been begging for corrective action to be taken as they stand by and watch their friends and colleagues suffer from adverse health consequences due to these conditions in this courthouse. Sadly, these requests have been largely ignored by those in charge. Instead, they've attempted to provide a Band-Aid solution, but it's clear that those remedies are not enough at this time. Last week, we reached a critical crossroads when elected officials were forced to evacuate their employees from this courthouse due to the mold issues that they're facing. Hampden County deserves more than just a Band-Aid. We as a community deserve a real solution to the issues that we face. That is why Cheryl Rivera and Judith Potter have filed this litigation on behalf of not only themselves, but everyone who enters this courthouse. The judges, the clerks, the trial court officers, the probation department, litigants, lawyers, general members of the public. We've requested that a temporary restraining order be entered, preventing the trial court from ordering anyone to enter this courthouse until not only an independent environmental study is conducted, but also an epidemiological study to address the health issues that have been raised throughout the years. We've also requested that the court appoint a special master to oversee these studies because, frankly, Cheryl Coakley-Rivera and Judith Potter, along with everyone standing behind me, have lost faith and confidence that those in charge will do what is right and needed for this county. Now, I'd like to introduce Justice Graney, who's going to give a few words, and then we're going to have Senator Eric Lesser speak. After that, I'll be available to take questions if anyone has any. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming. I had the privilege of working in this courthouse in 1976, right after it opened, and it was a beautiful courthouse. It was accomplished by the hard work of my colleague, Judge Kent Smith, who worked tirelessly for about 5 years to get it built and replace the courthouse there, which sadly was overcrowded and had a lot of other disadvantages. It saddens me considerably to see what has happened to it, and frankly, if I were these good people, I would not want to work in this courthouse. And it's an absolute shame to compel them to come to work every day and expose themselves to the illnesses and the toxicity that exists in this courthouse. It just shouldn't be done. And it's a shame to force jurors, who I think are going to say they can't come because of medical conditions, to be brought into the courthouse to weather the same harmful conditions. The lawyers who have taken this on deserve all of our credit for dealing with a major problem to which I think they're going to meet considerable resistance by the state bureaucracy. The state bureaucracy has ignored this at all levels for the past 20 or 25 years, and frankly, now is the time they've got to step up in one of two ways. Either close this and rehabilitate it completely, or shut it down and find and build a new courthouse somewhere else and a place to have the employees and court business done until that courthouse is built. So I support this. A lot of my colleagues who can't speak because they're serving judges and can't go public also support it. The legislature, I think, supports it. So it's time for action. And I don't think it should be named the Hall of Justice anymore. I think it should be named the Hall of Injustice and Toxicity for the employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Lesser?
Well, I'll be brief. First, I just want to thank you, Judith Potter, and you, Registrar Cheryl Coakley-Rivera. It takes a lot of courage to put your name on a lawsuit, especially one suing the state. And frankly, it's sad that it's come to this, but it had to come to this. It's absolutely essential. And I want to thank the staff members, the dedicated public servants of this building, as well as the lawyers who have given their own time pro bono. Look at this document. Look at the documentation. Have come together to say enough is enough and to not take no as an answer. I can say, and I'm joined here by Anthony Moore from Senator Gomez's office, and I can speak on behalf of the entire Western Mass legislative delegation when I say that for years, for more than a decade, and Cheryl knows because she served there too, we have pleaded, begged for attention to be paid to this courthouse. After 2 judges got sick and passed away, and multiple staff members in this building have gotten sick, after documentation of mold, of HVAC failures, of ventilation failures, of air quality failures, the can just getting kicked down the road. They come in, they do an inspection, they reopen it, the same thing happens again. And meanwhile, the people behind me keep getting sick. So enough is enough. They have the money. We authorize and appropriate hundreds of millions of dollars in capital to the trial courts to make improvements and fixes to these buildings. They have the money if they choose to spend it in Springfield. So let's just be honest for a second. Does anyone think for 1 second that if this was going on at a courthouse in Boston or in Newton or in Brookline or anywhere in Eastern Mass, that this would have been tolerated for 1 day? Does anyone think that? Can anyone with a straight face say that if this was going on in Middlesex County instead of Hampden County, that this would have been tolerated? Absolutely not. So I just want to say thank you and stand in solidarity with the attorneys of Hampden County, with the staff of the courthouse here in Hampden County, and with the people who have gotten sick, who have had the courage to say no more and to put their name on a lawsuit forcing the trial court to do, frankly, what it should have done years and years ago. So I hope a resolution is found soon. It has to happen. Enough is enough. It's time for Western Mass to stand up for itself and fight for basic health and safety standards. This isn't about changing the carpet or putting a new fresh coat of paint on the walls. This is about fixing the mold and the air ventilation and the health and the safety of the people that work and visit here. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lesser. I'd like now to invite up Joe Pacella, who is the president of the Hampden County Bar Association. Thanks, Joe.
So I have a lot of personal opinions, but I stand here as the president of the Hannah County Bar Association. Many of our members are above me here. Many of our members are highly affected by what's going on in this courthouse. I've said before that I cannot imagine, no matter what Band-Aid is put on this, it is going to make a difference. No one is going to feel safe working in this courthouse ever again. Our members include prosecutors who worry about children, victims, people that are highly affected by crime, that are forced to meet in this building, that are forced to tolerate these conditions, to come here to get a slice of justice. I have a number of members that work as defense attorneys. They worry about their clients in lockup who are in custody, who have no rights at that point. Their liberty is taken from them, and they're forced to tolerate mold and terrible conditions. Forget about the fact that this building is highly not COVID compliant if we're ever faced to deal with further outcomes from this pandemic. But we have people in lockup. We have a ton of lawyers in the plaintiff's bar that are trying to get justice for their clients or to defend their clients, and their cases are on hold. And we can't have that. We can't have that keep happening. We need action. Of course, the trial court has not been funded to the full level they've requested. But Eric Lesser's right. There's money there. It could be allocated, and it needs to be. We've asked, we have a number of members working on a committee that deals with the building, and they've looked at it, and they've asked the trial court to keep analyzing what's going on. You could do a thermal study tomorrow and look at the water, the mold that's in the walls. Why hasn't that been done? 10 years, whatever it's been, 20 years, however long it's been. The windows are leaking water. These flat roofs are notorious for having all of the drain works not operate and fall apart. Have they scoped the drains in the roof? Why is water coming through the center of this building that's cantilevered out over a basement? Is there underground water? What's going on? We've heard asbestos. We've heard mold. Has the trial court released what the findings were of the air quality tests? What kind of mold? What kind of bacteria people have been breathing in? We should get that information. We have a right to know that before we go back in this courthouse. That's what our members demand. And I hope, based on all of the hard work here today, that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open it up to anyone who has questions.
What's the status of the judge's decision on the TRO?
The TRO was filed yesterday at 3 o'clock. It is under advisement, but as of this meeting, it has not been ruled on yet. We do expect a ruling hopefully shortly. We filed it ex parte and also asked for a short order, which means that the judge would put it down for a hearing in a couple of weeks, and that way the defendants have the ability to come in and explain to us why they think we should actually be forced back into the courthouse.
Sorry, I just have one other, and that's for, not to put you on the spot, Senator Walter, but I've been covering this from the beginning, and I feel like I only see legislators when there's a press conference. I feel like there's not been that kind of ongoing pressure by the legislature. Do you feel like it's time for that?
Well, so actually there has been pressure put on the trial court for a number of years. There was money given to the trial, or allocated, appropriated to the trial court for a feasibility study. It was not used. There have also been a number of meetings, including multiple that I've had personally with Paula Carey about this for a number of years. Frankly, they keep telling us the same thing that I said in my remarks, which is that they're doing incidental studies, they're testing out the water, they're testing out the mold, they're testing out the air quality, and then they're reopening the building. But we can't take no for an answer at this point. And I do think you're going to see continued focus by the legislature on this. But ultimately, they have to make the decision to fix their own buildings. And so that's why this lawsuit is so important, because if they're not going to step up and do that with the money we've appropriated to them, then potentially the law and a judge is going to order them to do it.
So just to be clear, this is a lawsuit filed against the Massachusetts trial court.
Yes, so we filed, there's 4 named defendants. There's Chief Justice Paula Carey in her capacity as the Chief Justice of the Administration and Management Division of the trial courts. We filed suit against John Baio in his capacity as the Court Administrator of the Massachusetts trial courts. Charles Chuck O'Brien in his capacity as the Director of Facilities Management, in capital planning department of the trial court. And we also included Carl Gladstone in her capacity of the commissioner of the Division of Capital Asset Management. DCAM is the department that's responsible for finding leases and finding new courthouses. So they are a necessary party in this action in case the studies come back like we expect them to come back, that this courthouse is no longer safe, it's a sick building, and we need a new courthouse.
Yeah, and just to follow up, because the trial court said that the executive branch offered them money from DCAM to help with the remediation of the mold. What further funding is there available to make sure that it's dedicated to the program?
That's one of the things that we're looking for an answer on. I can tell you at a committee meeting a couple of months ago, there were numerous questions asked to find out where we're listed, where Hampden County is listed in the line of courts for a new courthouse. I think we're somewhere around 23 or 25. We asked, how do we move ourselves up since we are having so many health issues? Are other courthouses having these sick adverse health consequences at their courthouses? We can't get a straight answer out of DCAM. We can't get a straight answer out of CJAM. We don't know how to move up. We don't know how much money is needed. I know Senator Lesser at one of the meetings suggested trying to use some of the COVID relief funds, but there was no real answer to that either. So at this point, we are unsure. And that's one of the things that we're looking for in this complaint is full and complete disclosure of all the reports, all the studies, all the air quality tests, all the financial reports, because frankly, we believe there's a lack of transparency going on right now as well.
Does anyone know how much money has been spent thus far on this issue in terms of analyses and consulting? Is there a figure on that?
I'm not sure of the exact figure. I've heard different numbers. I believe it's at least in the hundreds of thousands. There's been EH&E came in and did 2 separate studies. Tig and Bond has come in and done a study. Those studies both said the same thing. The HVAC system needs to be replaced. The FCUs need to be replaced. They're original to the courthouse. They're 50 years old and they only last for 35 years. But nothing's been done. And we have no idea how much money is now being spent on what was supposed to be a weekend project and is over a week long and going through the rest of the weekend. As in the last week?
Yeah.
So we know that someone has been brought in to start remediating the mold. Again, that was supposed to be a weekend issue, but it keeps being extended, which leads me to believe that there's a more evasive and pervasive issue than they actually thought. And these tests, we were supposed to get air quality test results last Friday. That got pushed to yesterday. We got an email at 8:40 last night saying that no, we're going to get them this weekend. So they are at least doing some of the chemical procedures to remove some of the mold, but we know that they're not testing behind the walls or anything like that. Any other questions? All right. I'd like to thank you all for coming out, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.